Hi, everyone. My name is Maya Garcia, and I am a senior specialist of corporate relations with ComEd. And I'm honored to be here for Empowering Girls for Life conference. Today, we have Laura Randle-Smith, ComEd Director of Engineering, who has been with the company for 16 years. Laura, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where did you grow up?
Hey, Maya. Hello, everyone. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised on the west side of Chicago. I attended Lane Technical High School. In addition, I went to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, majored in electrical engineering. Since then, I've been working here at ComEd, as you mentioned, Director of Engineering. I currently reside in a suburb of Chicago with my family. I have a husband and two young boys.
That's great, Laura. Thank you for that. It's always good. You went to U of I went to UIC. So we're right there. So what were some of your hobbies or passions growing up?
Yeah, some hobbies and passions that I've had. I was very involved as a kid. I probably say more at a younger age. I was into what kids typically are into. I love Mickey Mouse. I collected Mickey Mouse things. I love math. I love science. Throughout high school, I got really involved in a lot of extracurricular activities. I ran cross country. I was a majorette. I managed the girls' basketball team, you name it, I was all over it. In addition, I was really involved in like kind of public governmental things. So I was our student council president in grade school. I was a student body president at Lane, over 4,000 students. So I got to be a part of a lot of, extracurricular activities, just, as an avid learner, wanting to learn more and meet people and team with people and collaborate.
Wow, that's a lot that you definitely do, Laura. And I mean, that really just says a lot about you, that you were able to focus on all those extracurricular activities as well as keep up with your studies. I mean, it just shows that drive that you have, and it's just truly a testament to your character and an inspiration to, I know, other girls, let them know that they can do anything that they want to do. So kudos to you for that. So can you share with us kind of an overview of like your journey, your career path, when and how did you become interested in STEM?
Yeah. So my journey into STEM really started with just my natural curiosity and some very dedicated parents. My father would make me do math in my head instead of on paper. I could not use a calculator. That was out of the question. My mom's favorite line was, look it up, when I asked her any type of question. My real exposure really into STEM came during high school. While I was at Lane, at that time, it wasn't a college preparatory school. Lane had an extensive technical curriculum, and at that time, you declared majors. And during that time, I was a math and science major. So I took courses that you typically wouldn't take in a high school: electric shop, drafting, AutoCAD. I actually learned how to etch and solder circuit boards and work with oscilloscopes. I still know the resistor color code just from those types of experiences. My senior year, I had engineered my own telephone. I still have the telephone I made my senior year of high school in my electronics 2 course. So, throughout high school, I participated in some summer enrichment programs on college campuses, one in particular being at the University of Chicago, the University of Illinois at Chicago, and it was led by 2 graduate students. And, that program was a crash course in digital electronics, and that really exposed me to real college curriculum. During that particular experience, I also got to visit engineering companies and really got a glimpse into the day in the life of STEM professionals. I was placed in drafting and AutoCAD competition. So all these experiences really allowed for me to learn more about engineering. Granted, I was one of maybe a few girls in these programs. And in my class, my senior year, the only girl in a room full of boys, but that didn't matter. It definitely allowed me to understand the environments in which I would practice and work during the next stages in the STEM fields.
Oh, that's a lot. I definitely would love to see that phone that you made. That's something
I
great.
should
And
have
I
brought it.
definitely that.
I should have brought it. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, you definitely were very hands-on, and I know you still are. What's kind of things that drives you in your career?
Yeah, I definitely have a passion for technology and the unknown. There's so much that still is yet to be discovered when you think about our world and the technological age and all of the huge advancements that have occurred just in our, time here on this earth. A lot of them have been driven from those in STEM careers or in STEM fields. And I know, that I, as well as, several others, several of the young women who are at this conference, we all have the potential to do more and to really impact this world that we live in. And it's just exciting times.
Absolutely, I completely agree. What do you like about what you do in your current role right now?
Yeah, so my current role, I'm Director of Engineering for the regional engineering organization, working for an energy company such as ComEd, being at a utility, you realize that the work that you do every day, it really impacts people's lives and livelihoods. I tell my family I have ComEd blood. When I see our trucks rolling down the street, when after a major storm, I get a sense of pride in what we do. Our work is everywhere. I recall when I was an intern here at ComEd, I would say, I always wondered what those little garbage cans were on the top of the poles. And I'm like, those are transformers. Um, so really being able to connect what we do everywhere I go, whether it be in another state, outside of the country, um, that's really inspiring. And just to know that, electricity and just the energy sector, the energy, um, it has a major impact on the world and but specifically on the lives of people.
Absolutely, Laura. I completely agree. Like you said, you are one of the individuals, the engineers that's helping to power the lives. I mean, and that's great. So that definitely is something to take great pride in. So I know earlier you had mentioned that, when you were in the schools in high school and kind of in college, that oftentimes you were sometimes the only female in the room, taking these classes and doing these projects. So do you believe that there's a need for more women engineers?
Great question. Absolutely. We know that the numbers of women in STEM is not representative of the overall population. Women make up close to 50% of the population, but we only have about 20% of the STEM careers. I believe this is because young women don't see many people who look like them enter into these types of fields. So when it comes to problem solving, you need a diverse perspective and you need the female perspective. I mentioned previously, we're at an age where the biggest advancements in our lives really have been around, have been from, science, technology, engineering, and math. And women are needed. Solving big problems takes diverse perspectives. And I want to make sure that, young women, young girls see others that look like them in these roles. Representation definitely matters. And if, we want to continue to move forward, ensuring that we are implementing the best tools and technology, we're being innovative, we have to get more and more females into these areas.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100% on that topic as well. Seeing as how it was the same thing for me. Being a civil engineer, I was one of like the only ones in my classes. So it's definitely a need. And I just 100% agree with you that we need to encourage more people females to know that they can have STEM careers and they can do anything that they want to do. So thank you for that. So can you tell us about some of the projects that you're working on or have worked on in the past where your STEM background kind of helped play an important role?
Yeah, sure. So I can speak to just a few in my career. So while I was, when I started working, I actually went back to school and got my MBA. And so when you combine my master's in business, so when you combine the STEM background and then, you know, kind of taking courses on the outskirts related to business, you'll see those two really work hand in hand. I'll give you a few examples. Early on in my career, just again, being curious, inquisitive, being how I was in high school, you know, all these extracurricular activities. I actually started a young engineering group here at ComEd that's been around for about 11 years now. It was really to focus on the development of our engineers at the company. That's paramount. You know, that's something that we want to make sure that we continue to retain and attract the best talent. That organization definitely helps and supports us in that vision. I've also had other projects. You know, part of my career actually left engineering for a little bit and went to our training organization. And that organization, you know, I wasn't too far. I actually went to become the engineering trainer for the company. And then I moved on to be the manager over all of engineering training. And during that time, we implemented some really cool and creative tools for really self-directed learning for our engineers at ComEd. We named it Engineering U. So that was definitely something that was a great project where my STEM background came into play. I think the biggest project, and I would have never thought so, you know, kudos to you, Maya, being a civil engineer, you know, ComEd, back a few years ago, we built 51,000 square foot training facility in Chicago. And guess what Laura was? Laura owned that puppy from start to finish. So all the design requirements for that building fell into my lap. So not just the STEM background, you know, I'm an electrical engineer, but, you know, I learned about the IT aspect. I learned, you know, about, you know, the mechanical pieces and the civil pieces of what it takes to really build a building and the yard, you know, for developmental needs for our people and for the community. That was a mind-boggling experience, one that I'll take with me, you know, and until I leave this earth. You know, some people still tease me today and they say, oh, this is the building that Laura built. But I bring up that example because not just from a STEM perspective, when you combine the collaboration that has to take place, the innovative thinking, you know, to think about, you know, we're building this today, making sure that it's in place 20, 30, 40 years from now will still meet the needs. Taking in my leadership skills, being able to, you know, push on, you know, I need more space. Well, you can't have more space. So all these skill sets combined, but that foundational understanding and knowledge in the STEM careers definitely help to support in those activities and projects.
That sounds great. It's almost like you can say you've left your stamp on Chicago, because like you said, that's something that will be here years from now. And that's something that Laura had her hand in. So as you're driving by, and even like you said, with the transformers that you see in the poles, you drive by and you say, I did that. That's something I did. It's still there. It's kind of your stamp on the city, which definitely I know is a great feeling.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And if you ever fly in and out of Midway and you see this huge red box that has ComEd on the side, that's the building I'm talking about.
Good to know. All right, so Laura, can you tell us about a few ComEd STEM programs that you are or have been involved with? Maybe such as like Box Derby or the Power Challenge IEEE?
Yeah. Absolutely. So, you know, ComEd does a lot of work in our communities, and I, you know, get involved with as many as, you know, possible. I'll mention too, one you mentioned is the ComEd Icebox Derby, which is an excellent program for young women. The Icebox Derby is an educational STEM focused program that we look for 30 young women, roughly, you know, the middle school to high school age range in the ComEd service territory. And what we do is we put them into 6 teams, and they build and race solar vehicles, but they do them out of recycled refrigerators. So we're literally taking, helping the environment, helping the community, recycling refrigerators, and then turning them into these solar powered cars. I've been a mentor several years for this particular program. All the girls who participate, they receive a stipend at the end. But it was in the program. I want to make sure I point out what's important. The program was put together specifically to really empower women to explore, opportunities in the STEM fields, but then also to help them discover their own path to innovation and then bridge that gap that I mentioned earlier, where women make up close to half of the population, but again, only 20% in the STEM area. So that's a really awesome, program. I've mentored several teams throughout the years that we've had that in place. One other area, this is a more recent one that I've done this year, and in conjunction with, ComEd's Community of the Future initiatives, we had a STEM Power Challenge. And what that was, I was actually a judge for that particular competition. But what it did was it brought together these student groups. And what they did was they put together energy related projects that they would, work together, collaborate as a team, and then bring forward and present. And it was a competition, with the various projects. And at the end, the teams were, again, awarded, placing for their efforts. And so, these are just two of them, two that I've been involved with. I've been involved with several others, but that STEM, that STEM piece is definitely something that we're very conscious about. And, I'm very conscious about and wanting to make sure that we continue to encourage young people, specifically young women, in these particular areas.
Yeah, that's great. I know last year I actually had the opportunity of going down for Daily Plaza and seeing the race, and it was great. Just, having the girls all excited, racing their vehicles. It really is a great event, and just seeing how empowered they are, plus just that opportunity that's there for, our younger individuals to be able to pair up with someone who is in the engineering field or in a STEM related field, just to kind of, have that one-on-one mentor-mentee type of relationship is definitely great. So kudos to you for taking part in these programs, especially with everything that you have going on. So it's great. So let's see. So has mentorship played a role in your career development? And if so, how?
Mentorship, that's a great question. So, there definitely have been people who really played a role in my career once it comes to mentorship. I've had several mentors throughout my career. They've counseled me, they've listened to my issues, they've offered advice, they've helped me problem solve. Those are very important to really help me to get to where I am. But I want to focus on sponsorship. I want to make sure we understand the difference here. While mentors are great, when I think about my career, it's really my sponsors who have gotten me to where I currently am. These are the people that not only take interest in me and my career, but they seek to further my career and make sure I'm in the right roles and in the right places throughout my career, because they believe in me, they know I can make an impact, and it's what's needed for the organization. These people are the people who have helped me develop as a leader. And so I want to make sure that when we talk about mentorship, that there's another part of it, there's another part, meaning a sponsorship, and knowing the difference. You definitely want those people who are going to say, give you more of that critical feedback and ensure that they're developing you into the great leader that you need to be.
Yeah, that's definitely good. And I know they say one thing is like a sponsor is someone that when you're not in the room, they're champion for you. And that's definitely, like you said, that's what you want. You want those people that just know your character, that'll push you and drive you and just help you grow and develop. So, Yes, well done. 16 years later, look at you.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on how your mentors have influenced your career, but a little bit you did touch on it. So, but if you'd like to, maybe touch on that a little bit more about specific things that they have done to truly help influence your career.
Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about my journey and career, and you'll kind of understand how all these intertwine. So I'll take you back to my senior year of high school. And, I had a teacher in high school who really influenced me to really pursue engineering. Always been very good in math and definitely was a mentor. He would walk up to me and say, Laura, you did very well in my class. I think you should take, level 2 of this, in engineering course. I think you should take level 3. My senior year, though, I was student council president, and we had a visitor that came to the company for principal for the day, and they wanted to really, go around to look at some of our STEM courses. So I was asked, hey, can you take this person around? I did, and I came and I sat down and afterwards, and he's like, hey, so tell me a little bit about yourself, kind of how we started this interview. And I'm like, yeah, I'm senior, I'm going to U of I, major in electrical engineering. And he's like, really? Comes to find out, he was the CEO of an engineering firm in the Chicagoland area. He had graduated from U of I as an electrical engineer. And right there, my senior year of high school, I got offered my first engineering internship. I hadn't even started college. That individual, the CEO of that company, introduced me to some great mentors that I still have today. There are engineers that I worked under during that time who really helped to push me and guide me for me to understand engineering, electrical engineering. I worked throughout my career. I worked internships throughout college before coming to ComEd. Starting at ComEd, my first job here, really got a push by my first manager. Hey, Laura, you're an excellent engineer. You're doing great. Really wanting to see me succeed, moved on to other roles within the company. I've had leaders that have looked like me, leaders that were men, mentors, women, men, mentors, all the variety who have really taken the time, but also I've reached out and sought out, their guidance, their advice as I've journeyed throughout my career. I've had some of them that really pull me back at times and say, that's not how we do things. This is how you handle this. So it's been really, mentors are a blessing. They are people that you want to have in your life to really, who have a vested interest in you and who really are going to push you. You mentioned, the other thing about sponsorship of, speaking for you when you're not in the room. Absolutely. Some of the projects that I mentioned wouldn't have happened without those sponsors saying, she can handle this. Let's give this to her. There are times I reached out and I asked for them, so what I'll say is, mentorship and just really how it's helped me throughout my career has been one where there were jobs I wouldn't have never considered without somebody, offering it or recommending it for me. When I went over to our training organization, I actually wasn't even thinking about it. One of the directors I used to work with in his organization said, hey, I think you would be excellent here. Would you, consider going over to our training organization to train our engineers? And I'm like, go to training? I'm an engineer. What are you talking about? It was one of the most gratifying experiences in a role in a job that I've ever had. So always, making sure I at least let others know what it is that I want, what I'm considering, what I'm thinking through, and then listening to the advice, listening to the recommendations. I've continued to do that throughout my career, which has really supported, me in where I am. And, I look forward to doing so much more.
Great advice to the students, to all the ladies that are, watching this. That is definitely great advice. But I know there's a number of things that stood out, but one thing that really stood out to me was how that one introduction led you to a great opportunity. It wasn't a relationship that had been formed. It just that one meeting, and there was just something that they saw in you, and it just built. So, I mean, that's great, just that you took advantage of every opportunity that you were given, and you really just did it to the fullest. So, very well. So, in closing, Laura, we have one final question for you. If you could give your 15-year-old self advice, what would it be?
Oh goodness, 15-year-old self. So this is end of freshman year, beginning of sophomore year of high school. So if I could speak to myself then, I would tell myself quite a few things. One is, never let others define your success. Never lose confidence in yourself. Those are two key things. In addition, explore possibilities even when they don't seem appealing. I think we get into a habit of saying no, I don't like that. That's not what I want to do, instead of actually trying it out. I thought I don't want to go to training, but I tried it out, and look, two of my biggest projects and initiatives that I've had in my career stemmed from that part of the organization. Ask questions. I mean, a lot of questions. I ask tons of questions, so much so that I think I drive my husband nuts. But ask questions, always ask, never be afraid to ask. What you're thinking is exactly what someone else is thinking, but you are the brave one. You have enough courage to actually go ahead and ask the question. So make sure you continue to ask. Find a mentor. We talked about mentors. I think at this point in, stage, at my 15-year-old self, find a mentor and find that person that, that will continue to really invest in me and help support my aspirations. Get involved. You never know who you'll meet. I mentioned two experiences, one being the program that I was in at UIC one summer, the crash course. And one of the graduate students who ran that course is actually the dean of one of the engineering programs down at U of I, my alma mater, and he remembered me. So he continues to invite me back to speak to engineering students. I've done several, talks and discussions down back on campus because he remembered me from that program. And then also, I mentioned about my first internship in working under two electrical engineers after the CEO offered me my internship. Well, one of those engineers that I worked for, actually, she's the CEO of her own engineering firm currently, and her team works very closely with my team on several projects today. So, one of my early mentors that I worked under my first internship is actually the CEO of another engineering company. So, just crazy how things happen. Be passionate. Be passionate about what you do. I would not be here today if I didn't have a passion for what I am doing. I talk about ComEd. Like I said, I have ComEd blood. That passion and that drive keeps me going every day. You have your ups and downs, but having a passion for what you do and believing in what you do becomes very important. And then lastly, make sure you make connections and network, meet people. You never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to come across. Step out, go to events, volunteer. I do a lot of volunteering. I meet a lot of people, wearing volunteer shirts, just like me. So that would be the advice I would give to my 15-year-old self. I'm giving a lot of advice, but it's very good advice.
Absolutely, Laura. That was great advice. Definitely. So, I just want to thank you for taking the time out to kind of just, tell us a bit more about yourself, what your path is, and just, the advice that you've given has been just phenomenal. So, like I said, just want to thank you for definitely being a part of this today. Great having you.
Thank you. Thank you, Maya. Thanks for having me. And thank you to all the young ladies who are listening and Empowering Girls for Life Conference.